Hey, what is going on, guys? Futures Tech here, and basically Apple got granted 2 patents recently, and they're both basically just allowing them to remove the keyboard off of their MacBooks lineup. And it sounds kind of crazy at first, but when you dig into it and you kind of look at those patents, it actually seems kind of interesting. So basically, they got granted 2 patents, both of which pertain to the removal of the keyboard, but one of them is specifically for a MacBook, and one of them is specifically for an iPad attachable keyboard. Basically, it's kind of like a Surface Pro 4, how it has a keyboard attached to it. And basically what the patent allows them to do is basically Apple already has an OLED touch bar, and this allows them to take that touch bar and expand it all the way to the bottom of the laptop or the keyboard. So basically your keys are gone, your trackpad's gone, and it's just one big touchscreen. You know, a lot of people have been giving it negative reviews. In fact, I have not seen one positive review or one positive reaction to Apple getting these patents. And, I want to calm you down, tell you it's okay. Patents usually don't mean that it's really going to happen. I'm also here to tell you that it's Apple, and they'll probably do it because Apple does that crap all the time. But it's not going to be bad. It's going to be great, actually. And I'm going to tell you why. So basically, keys in general, physical keys, have their problems. First of all, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a whole switch mechanism with a couple moving parts, and the key that's physically moving up and down, and that gives a lot of potential for things to break. It's not common for most people, but if you're someone like me who's on their 4th Razer keyboard, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Aside from the fact that keys, they have a lot of moving parts, they're more prone to breaking, and the fact that touchscreens don't really have any moving parts, so you're not worried about that. Put that aside, and just think about the utility here. If you had a touchscreen as your keyboard, as your trackpad, as your function area at the top, that gives you a lot of room to customize things. I mean, think about it. If you like bigger keys, you could probably tell your laptop or tell your MacBook in the settings, hey, I like bigger keys. And you could probably physically change the size of your keys, or maybe even each key individually. So if you wanted the space bar to be smaller, you could do that. Or you could change the colors, which is not something that a MacBook has ever been able to do. It's just had that backlit keyboard. But potentially now you'd be able to customize the keyboard, kind of like those Razer keyboards, where you can have the rainbow, or the ripple effects, breathing, all the different colors, which I think would be great and very welcomed on a MacBook. Also, the fact that the trackpad is going to be in this touchscreen would mean that you'd be able to take this trackpad and expand it all the way to the edges of the laptop, which would be such a help. I've always thought the trackpads were kind of small, and even on the newer MacBooks, a bigger trackpad is always welcome. I'll always find a way to need a bigger trackpad. So being able to take a trackpad and moving it all the way to the edges of that laptop, or even raise it up higher and make the keyboard smaller, would be awesome. And you could do that if it was a touchscreen. Also, which for the artists out there who don't want to use an iPad, I guess, Apple could put Apple Pencil support in the keyboard, and you could draw, on this big touchscreen, on your laptop, to draw on there. And personally, for me as a student, I'm going into the medical field, so in a lot of anatomy classes, it really helps to draw out things so that you can get a better understanding. Sometimes it's hard to explain certain things through text, and it's easier to just draw something real quick. So I had an iPad Pro and a MacBook, and I had to work a summer job all summer to be able to afford to do that, because I wanted a MacBook anyway. But an iPad Pro base model, you're looking at $500-600 plus another $100 for an Apple Pencil. That's a lot of money for someone who's going to college, and it's hard to work when you're in college. So that would definitely be a reason to buy this. So I don't know if you've ever tried to type on an iPad without looking. It's kind of ridiculous because you can't tell if you screwed up. You don't have any indication that you messed up, even with the stupid click clack noise that they put on there by default, which is really freaking annoying. But anyway, Apple has gotten really good with their Taptic engine, and I think that if they released a laptop with a touchscreen instead of a keyboard, I think that they'd have a Taptic engine in there that'd be so good it'd feel just like you tapped a key. I mean, if you know anyone who has an iPhone 7 or 7 Plus, or you had one, that home button feels like a real button when you're holding it and you press it. I mean, there were news articles, of people who did not know that it was not a real button. And you didn't really know until you put your iPhone down on the table and you try to press the home button and you're like, whoa, it's not moving. So Apple's kind of come a long way with their Taptic engine, and I think that, okay, first of all, this laptop is not coming out in the near future. It's going to be years before they release this. So I think that given them enough time, they could really work some magic with that Taptic engine. And I don't know whether, I'm not an engineer, I don't know if it'd be implementing multiple under areas of keys or one really good one, but I really feel like they would not release this MacBook unless when you pressed the key, it felt just like you pressed the key. It would vibrate, just like that home button. So don't worry, I don't think it would be like an iPad is right now. There would definitely be a learning curve regardless because there's no physical markers on it. If you're not looking, there's not a physical marker. Like there's two keys on a keyboard that have a little protrusion on them so that you can feel, so you know where to put your hands. And I don't know if there's a way to do that on a touchscreen. There would be a learning curve. But I really think that a lot of companies are going to adopt this because I really think that people are going to buy it. There are Apple sheep out there who will buy anything Apple sells. So this laptop's going to do well. The 2016 MacBook sold well. And they hardly even improved the specs. I mean, it was hardly a spec improvement. They had some minor design changes. They made it thinner. And the cheapest MacBook Pro was $1,500. The cheapest MacBook in general was like $1,200. So, and people bought them. So people are going to buy it. And I think it's going to be like the Touch Bar. I think the first year they do it, you're going to have a MacBook with a physical keyboard, and you're going to have a MacBook with an option to have this full touchscreen keyboard trackpad function area for a higher price with also better specs, kind of like they did the Touch Bar this year. I think that's how they're going to do it. Then after a year or two, there's not going to be an option. They're all going to be like that. And Apple's going to get a lot of hate at first because Apple gets hate all the time because they do crap like that all the time. If they don't think you need something, they remove it. And if they think you want something, they'll put it on there and make you do it. So that's Apple. Aside from all the rant about Apple forcing their customers to do things, we as humans and as technology has progressed have basically been moving towards touchscreens anyway. I mean, just take a look at the Model 3. If you don't know what the Model 3 is, it's basically Tesla is a car company that makes electric cars, and they're like the best in the market. But they had this new Model 3 rolling out, and there's not a single button in the car. I think the only button in the car are on the doors, and you press the button and it opens the door instead of a handle. And that's it. Everything else is on a touchscreen. There's no window controls. There's no knob to turn on and off the lights. There's no sticks for windshield wipers. There's no AC controls. There's no radio controls. It's all in this touchscreen. Even the speedometer and the odometer are in the touchscreen. Everything's in this touchscreen. And it's been getting really good reviews. Even though the touchscreen, it's not even centered. It's off to the side. But it's still getting good reviews. And I think that the MacBook will be kind of similar. I think before people get their hands on it, everyone's going to hate it. But I really think some people are going to like it when they get their hands on it. I don't think it's going to be all bad. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't like it or you think I'm ugly or something. Later, guys.